So a company named GameSir was kind enough to reach me out and ask me if I wanted to review one which I believe is their latest product, the GameSir G4s Advanced. So yeah, with no further ado guys, let's check it out. The G4s, or G4 Advanced, however you want to call it, is the latest flagship controller made by the Chinese startup GameSir. Differently from other less known Chinese brands, these guys seems to care about their products. According to their about page in their website, GameSir was born out of a pure desire to create more fun. And that's actually a really nice, pretty straightforward goal. I fully respect that. So the controller they sent me gave me quite a range of different impressions. The unboxing experience was pretty nice. The plastic box of the controller has some nice illustrations on the side, as well as a big transparent window in the front to show off the controller. There's nothing crazy into the box, the controller itself, a USB to micro USB cable, a small adapter I will talk about later, and the user manual, which you do not want to lose. In fact, since the controller has quite some features, it will come in handy every now and then to switch between all the different functions. Anyway, the second thing that immediately struck me was the build quality, which is kind of a mixed bag. The rubber on the sides of the controller is great, it feels good to the touch, the texture on them feels great, and it makes holding the controller very comfortable. The matte black plastic around the body feels pretty good as well as the rubberized analog sticks and the hinge to snap the phone onto feels pretty solid as well. But the one thing that ruined it is the silverish plastic accent. It looks pretty bad in my opinion and doesn't look too resistant to scratches or stuff like that. My biggest fear is that the silver paint could start coming off over time. One other pretty bad thing is the glossy black plastic in the inside of the analog sticks and on the edges of the D-pad. It's not the end of the world honestly, since it's not directly exposed to fingers, but nonetheless it doesn't look all that good. One last thing that completely breaks the design is the font on the start, select, turbo and clear buttons. But don't take this too seriously, this is just really nitpicking since the controller is overall quite well built. An interesting thing you don't find in many controllers is that the ABXY buttons are illuminated, and yeah, it may be kind of too much, but honestly I quite like it. Personally, I kept the brightness, which by the way is adjustable to the point of turning it off completely, to the minimum. Another thing that is adjustable is the vibration, but honestly I just kept it the default since I don't really notice the difference too much. Oh, and by the way, the vibration motor is good quality. It doesn't make any weird noises and it's pretty strong to be noticeable, but not enough to be annoying. One other nice thing about this controller are the analog sticks. They're a little bit higher than other controllers and they're not too stiff. This may sound weird, but I noticed it makes the analog movement a tad more precise and easy to control. But let's move on to the meat and potatoes of this controller. The most peculiar thing about it is that you can use it in many different modes. The most exotic one is probably paired with an Android phone over Bluetooth. You turn it on by pressing the home and A buttons. The home button will turn on of an Android green color, you pair it in your Bluetooth settings and you snap it horizontally on the phone holder. Now, the phone holder is pretty nice, the bottom part might be a little too small for some bigger or fatter phones, to the point that they could fall with some accidental movement. But here is where the little adapter that came in the box saves the day. Just slide it in the support and boom, you have a greatly stronger grip on your phone. You can probably even hold it upside down and it will stay in place. Now, I tried playing a couple of games on Android with this controller, but gaming on a phone is not really my thing. So I tried a game called Unkilled and it was decent, although it suffered from some pretty noticeable input lag. But it has more to do with the game itself rather than the controller. I also tried playing Super Mario World 2 with it in an emulator and it worked just fine. Oh, and I suck at this game. Another thing that I tried was running PSP emulators, and the G4s worked just fine here too. This is probably the best use I can make of a smartphone friendly controller. I can finally relive the PSP experience. Now, to connect it to a computer, you can either use the provided USB cable or the 2.4 GHz receiver. And you may ask, where is this 2.4 GHz receiver? Well, good question. It is hidden inside the controller, to the point that for the first 2 hours I was using it, I didn't notice it. I only realized it was there somewhere when I read on the manual about it and started looking for it. It fits snugly into this bottom part here, and it's pretty difficult to remove, and it could easily break your fingernail if you aren't careful. Sometimes I manage to remove it by hand, but other times I have to use the tip of a micro USB cable. Now, this is a pretty bad design flaw. It's unfortunate, but it's not really a deal breaker. The G4s works no problem on Linux too. I tried it with some games like The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, and I was pleased to realize I was actually enjoying playing it with a controller. And this is a pretty rare thing for me since I'm a hardcore keyboard user. I also tried some more controller-oriented titles like Saints Row 3, and while aiming a gun with a controller is never a pleasant experience for me, it was fine, and it behaved like any other standard Xbox 360 controller. One other nice feature is that you can use the G4s as a mouse, which is pretty unusual, but it can come in handy in some cases, like if you're watching Netflix on your couch and don't want to get up to your mouse and keyboard to interact with it. Now, overall, I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with the GameSir G4s. But should you really buy one? Let's compare it with some other popular controllers. The G4s is pretty similar to a standard Xbox 360 controller. It has about the same shape, and the position of the buttons is pretty much the same. A wireless Xbox 360 or Xbox One controller will cost you about 30 or 40 USD on Amazon right now, which is pretty cheap if that's all you need. For about 50 USD, you can get the G4s, which has the same core functionality plus smartphone support via Bluetooth and the nice phone holder, illuminated buttons, and the internal lithium rechargeable battery compared to both the Xbox 360 and One controllers, which uses standard AA batteries. With the G4s, you can also choose between using the included dongle or Bluetooth, which is a nice option. Now, for 50 USD, you can also get a Steam controller, which I learned to love over time. More about it in my dedicated review. If you want to, you can go ahead and watch it by pressing the card on the top right corner of this video. But the Steam controller is no classic controller. I realized that for some games it's sure pretty great, but for some other, a classic Xbox style controller can be better. And if I were to pick between the 360 controller and the G4s, I'd probably go with the G4s for the extra functionality it offers. So one quick thing before we wrap this up, you will find the link to buy this controller down in the video description. And this is gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please make sure to press the thumbs up button down there, and also remember to subscribe to my channel if you want more of this. Again guys, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.